Welcome to Mac and Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things Mac and Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mac and Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, CEO and co-founder of Blue Wave General Contracting, amongst other businesses that we have. And I am delighted today to have Tiffany Sharp. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For those of you that don't know Tiffany, it was funny. We're sitting here earlier, and I said I apologized to her that we haven't even met in person, and yet we've been in the same circle in the Valley for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I'd been trying to get Tiffany and one of her colleagues that's no longer there, it's no big deal, on the show for quite a while. Again, for those of you that don't know her, I met Tiffany not literally but figuratively, because in my space, I do a lot of shell work, and everyone used to talk about Tiffany and Sharp Construction being one of the preeminent tenant improvement contractors in town. So kudos to you and
Thank
your
you.
reputation, all those kind of things.
Thank
Before we get into all the fun stuff, everyone likes to get to know a little bit about you, for the audience sake. Tell us a little bit about your background as far as like in the Valley. We can go into the Intel stuff because I think unpeeling a lot of that,
Okay.
and some of the cool things that you've been involved with outside of Sharp Construction.
Okay.
So, if you don't mind.
I'll start from, I'm actually from Iowa.
I already like her then.
I did leave the day after I graduated high school, so I'm not a real Hawkeye, but I still am a Hawkeye at heart.
Yeah.
I went to ASU for both my bachelor and master programs. Graduated with my master's in construction management.
Oh.
Did that while I was at Intel, so that's a nice little segue. I was
Now, did you go to ASU in your undergrad seeking construction management?
So I actually, I probably spent about 7 years in my undergrad.
Oh, the Tommy Boy plan. She's a doctor.
Exactly. I initially started off in architecture and then transferred over into structural engineering, and then from structural engineering went into business for my undergrad. The direction there was, I have so many specific courses that were tied to a degree that were not transferable into another degree program. And so my counselor sat down with me and said, you just need to pull something together here. So we did
Come on, Tiffany, get your shit together, right?
Well, you essentially have 2 bachelor's degrees, but no actual degree. You have enough courses to create 2 bachelor's. So we did an interdisciplinary study degree just to kind of get me out of there. I wasn't ready to go. I enjoy school, so I was having fun and wasn't in any big hurry. And
there's no shame in that.
Exactly. So much so that I decided to go back. So
then when you got done with undergrad, then what did you do?
So after my undergrad, I was actually working as a project manager for a custom home builder up in North Scottsdale.
Oh, really?
Platinum Homes was the name of the company. I essentially started my real career there. I'll say I started my real career there because I did work for an architect prior to that, and I worked for a structural engineering firm up in Flagstaff prior to that as well. But my full-time, real go-to-work every single day and being held for strategic responsibilities was when I was at Platinum.
Okay.
And then I was there for about, I want to say 5 years, maybe between 5 and 6 years.
That was all high-end custom, right?
Very high-end custom. A lot of the work that we did was up in Desert Mountain, Whisper Rock,
the usual culprits.
DC Ranch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually was doing quite a bit of work up in Pine Canyon and Flagstaff as well. So I built some multifamily product up there as well as several custom homes there. And beautiful product, really amazing team. I learned a lot. Dave Reese was the owner at the time of the company and still to this day is one of my most amazing mentors. Has been a mentor to me throughout my career.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, okay.
So then what, keep going, it's just good.
Okay. So 2007, we had a huge hit in real estate.
Really? I don't remember.
Right. And, it came at such an kind of an unfortunate time for me because this is right where I'm learning. And there was such a downshift that there were several people being let go. I think that I really got lucky being kind of the lowest on the totem pole at that time and willing to be a sponge and dive in and do anything. I mean, I was the jack of all trades. So I was willing to go help out with scheduling, willing to, help out with running errands, willing to manage projects. And I was taking on a lot of projects in a short period of time. So we had projects in design, projects in pre-construction, projects in construction. And at one point, I think I was managing about 12 projects all by myself.
That's
and
a lot.
These are big, large custom homes, right? So yes, I stayed there until about 2012. And I had learned a lot and I was ready to go to the next level. I really wanted to get involved in the commercial construction aspects. I had been applying at Intel for several years, actually, because I had a couple friends with a family that worked there and had really talked. I want to say they were drinking the Kool-Aid, the Bleu Kool-Aid. They talked it up pretty good to the point that I was like, well, there's a construction management position that comes open every once in a while, and I just keep applying. After about 2 years of applying, I was not getting any callbacks, and I'm like, I know that I've got the background here. I have the passion and excitement. And I'm spending all this time writing my cover letters, trying to make sure that they're really getting attention. Still nothing. So I decided to research what the email configuration was at Intel. And I shouldn't share it, but I learned what it was. It was a specific something at intel.com, right?
Okay.
So I went on to LinkedIn and researched somebody in HR that had enough information for me to figure out what their email was so that I could contact them directly. I sent my resume, a super nice cover letter, and the job requisition that I was applying for. And I had explained that I had been applying for this job for many years and still had not received any feedback, a call, nothing.
F you, go away, just nothing at all.
Correct. So I get a phone call from the hiring manager less than 30 minutes later. And not the HR individual. So the HR individual forwarded my email to the hiring manager. Hiring manager calls me. This is within 30 minutes of me sending the email. We have a good 45-minute discussion. And he says, well, I'm really, really disappointed that I haven't seen your resume in all this time. But what it is that because of my degree as a Bachelor of Interdisciplinary degree and not a Bachelor of, I don't have a construction degree at this time. I don't have a...
That was the... algorithm check, if you will.
The algorithm automatically was kicking me out. So my information, my resume, nothing was actually getting through to any human being. So I was just being automatically set sailing. He invited me in for an interview. The interview was a highly aggressive full day, and I think I was interviewed by about 12 people throughout the day.
Wow.
And I was made an offer that next Monday. So the interview was on Friday, got the offer on Monday. I started about 2 weeks later, and then that was my career for the next, I want to say, another 5 or 6 years. I stayed at Intel from 2012 to 2017. While I was there, I was doing a lot of, I initially signed on to do Chandler 8, which was a 385,000 square foot clean room, rest of world design concept. It was a great project, a lot of lessons learned. It took me about a year to really familiarize myself with the language at Intel. I'm going to call it acronym.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can use it. There's no ratings on this show, Tiffany. You can drop anything you want.
All right, perfect.
This
acronym hell.
Yeah, there you go.
So just walking into one of the meetings, the way that they were speaking, I could understand it is the, you, he, she, but outside of that, they were talking in pure acronyms. I'd never seen anything like it before in my life.
You needed a doctorate just in language skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I did that.
But
finally.
so what? during that tenure at Intel, was it their pressure or an internal, like an intrinsic motivation for you that to go back to school for your master's, or both?
I think it was definitely internal pressure for me because one, I knew that if I had proven myself, I was meeting my goals and doing what I was supposed to be doing, that Intel was going to pay for the program.
Got it.
But I did have to prove myself first and make sure that whatever program it was that I was going after was going to be well suited for Intel's requirements and needs.
Okay.
So I was trying to decide between going back for an MBA or going back for my master's in construction. If I went back for my MBA, they were not going to support it, but if I went for my master's in construction, they would. And honestly, it didn't matter to me. I really was passionate about school and learning, and I was excited to go back, and construction was what I was doing, and it made sense. And when I look back on it, it made logical sense for that to be my path.
Let me go tangential on you for a minute, because I haven't gotten into this discussion in a while. I never finished my master's program. But I am curious to hear, through your eyes, what was the difference between graduate school and undergrad for you?
Well,
I mean, the audience would be interested in.
I will tell you that, are you talking about in terms of the program or just me personally?
More personally.
Okay,
I don't care about, no offense, I don't care about the program. What I'm trying to do is resonate with the audience of because there's also, think of all the young people that we impact right now.
Right.
And, there's a lot of consternation, if you will, about undergrad, graduate, where we are in the paradigm of things that we do in our industry now. So I'm kind of going backwards of, basically, Tiffany, is it worth it? Oh. And what are the things that were good and or negative about the difference between undergrad to grad?
I do feel like that my end all be all, when I'm done doing what I'm going to do, I want to teach. And so I knew that I needed my master's program for what my end path was. And so for me, it was a requirement.
Got it. But you had that planned out, so that's different.
I did. Yeah. That was in the grand scheme of things. My retirement plan is to, kind of hang out on a beach somewhere and maybe travel around and do some teaching for maybe ASU or another amazing college out there, and
Got it.
and be able to share my knowledge, everything that I've gained, my knowledge and experience. So yeah, it was more of I'm in a position now where I know I have some financial support in order to obtain it, and I know that it's an end goal of mine for what it is that I need to accomplish. So for me, it wasn't really a matter of should I do it or should I not. It was I needed to get this done.
Yeah, it was on your path. Okay.
Correct. There was a lot that I took away from it, though, in terms of some of the programs and the courses that I did take. Alan Chasey, who used to be the dean there for Ira A. Fulton several years ago, he retired actually the same year that I graduated, was very passionate about especially getting women into construction and engineering and helping to ensure that the path was appropriate. And I'd sit down with him. He was an amazing mentor as well, and talk to him about kind of what my goals were and what my plans were. And he taught us a couple significant courses that really helped me align with someday I want to own my own business, and that this is the right move. And I think that when you're taking a master's program, if the intent is that you have an entrepreneurial spirit and that at some point that you are going to dive into this on your own, it does take you to that next level of business management and leadership, and the difference between management and leadership, and how can you do both effectively. And that is what I took from it.
Got
and
it.
I think that was substantial.
No, and thank you for that inflection, because I think you paraphrased it really well. If you're just going for the degree, I think you're in the wrong spot.
Exactly.
In today's world. I mean, when we were younger, yes, that was still appropriate. My takeaway that I always tell people is I finally learned how to learn. In other words, I faked it through undergrad, but at grad school, I learned how to learn but it was for me.
Yep.
I didn't care about the degree on the wall.
I think that was fair.
And that's
too.
why I never finished too, because I was like, hold it, if I can just learn and apply it to what I am in my new, like you were at Intel. I know when I did it, I was going through another career change where I was at an organization that they weren't supportive of it, but I knew that it was part of my journey. Right.
Yep.
So this is a testament that, again, for the audience's sake, is do it for you. Don't do it for the external drivers, because you're going to come up short.
I don't think that there's anybody today, at least not that I'm aware of, that genuinely looks at a resume and says that I'm going to hire this person over this person with experience versus the individual that has the master's program.
Agreed.
I am looking for something so much more than the education that you have as a hiring manager myself. I think that having the degree has to be more for you than it does for you and for what your future holds than it does for you seeking out or thinking that you're going to be one step ahead of your peers.
Well stated.
Yeah.
So we're going to, I think it's the perfect kind of time in the segue. So let me kind of paint a picture for everyone and for yourself, because we're going to go down about 3 different avenues here, but they're all dovetailed. So here's Tiffany. She's kicking butt at Intel. Here's Tiffany. She's kicking butt and getting her master's. And I'm glad you mentioned it, the empowerment of the women, because when we first started this podcast, one of the things we want to do is get the women in construction. Luckily, I've had a ton of the people that you commiserate with and collaborate with on the show before. We don't need to mention all the names, but wonderful women in construction that have sat in that same chair. And we've talked about a number of things. And I do want to take a moment to say, I think what you guys are doing and what you gals are doing and the support that you're getting here in the Phoenix market is I wouldn't say unparalleled, but I don't see it in a lot of other business sectors around the country in our AEC space. So I think, ASU, yes, did a great job of collaborating, but then the groups that started and support this and how cohesive they are and how they intermix even with everything. Like, think of NAWIC and all these kind of formal things, but how they intermix with ABA or NAOP or, CBRE, or we could go on and on and on,
right.
All those different things that deal with where we play in the commercial real estate space, architecture, engineering. Right. Just kudos to that. So then on top of all that, then Tiffany's sitting there. I'm sure she's got a half baked in her head and her heart is, it's time for me to go on my own.
Well, not yet.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet.
So take me back, and then let's transition to that.
Keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm at Intel, and again, I'm at that space, or I'm in that space in my mind where I feel like I have gained all that I'm going to gain, or all that I'm passionate about gaining here at Intel, and I'm ready for my next step. I was interviewing with a couple other organizations, one being Facebook at the time. So they were looking for a international site selection manager.
Pretty big deal.
I was also interviewing with Google. At the time, they were looking for a Southwest Territory manager for Google implementation, the Google Fiber implementation.
Oh, the fiber, okay.
Right. And oddly enough, I was having conversations with Dave Reese at Platinum Homes. And he was looking to retire. And so
were you basically the succession plan then?
That was what the intention was.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So we were having
kind
conversations. He, again, amazing mentor, and I did genuinely believe sitting down and talking to him about this path, it was definitely an option on the table. And so I did some very thorough interviewing with all 3. I looked at kind of the pros and cons of all of the options. With with Facebook, I would have to relocate to San Francisco. With Google, I was going to have to relocate to Irvine. With Platinum, I was going to get to stay here and enjoy, Arizona and not be subjected to California.
Well stated.
I'm trying to be sensitive.
We're not politically correct on this show, so don't worry.
Okay.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
and I had a family to think about at the time. I was married with 2 children, and I was going to have to uproot them from their schools, and my husband would have had to search for another job, which he did. He was going out and interviewing and looking at opportunities in both Irvine and San Francisco, and after some moments of my own come to Jesus and really thinking about what my future looked like, I was super excited about getting involved with leadership and ownership of a company, and I felt that Platinum was the way to go.
Okay.
It was comfortable.
You knew it?
I knew it, and I was not going to have to relocate. And I was moving in as the president of the company with the option to buy him out over the course of about a 5-year period of time.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I moved into that role, and I want to be careful about how I say this. I remembered why I left in the first place. So ultimately, and what I mean by that is the residential real estate market is so emotional. It is so, these people have been saving their whole lives to build this beautiful, magnificent home. It's their dream home. And the amount of attention and detail that is required to go into that in order to ensure it's successful is substantial. Mm-hmm. And you can't falter in any way. Yeah. And these people will hold you accountable for it. And it's not that I felt like I was faltering. It's just a lot. It's a heavy weight to carry at all times, all days. It's all you're thinking about. Yeah. You're at home on your weekends and you can't take a break because you know that you've got appliance selections that are due first thing Monday morning. And if you don't get the appliance selections sent in, then, this is going to fall apart or this is going to fall apart. So those things are constantly weighing on you. And training individuals to be successful in that type of market is very, very difficult as well. It's not that you can't do it. It's just, it's again a heavy lift. So from a leadership standpoint, I wasn't coming in and managing projects at this point, but I was coming in and trying to help train individuals how to be successful in this world. And we had a couple of really amazing individuals there that they're still there and they're phenomenal. They do a great job. It's where they belong. It's where they're passionate. It's what they do. After watching them and me being back in that world, it wasn't what I was meant to do. And so I was there for almost 2 years. And it was at this time that I had to make the decision as to whether or not I was going to buy into the company. And when it all came down to it, I had spent a lot of time thinking about developing my own firm and going into commercial construction only, leaving the residential portion behind. And that's what I decided to do. So Sharp was born.
Just like that.
Just
the
like
stork
that.
just dropped that baby right on the table.
Exactly. Yes.
But I'm trying to think. So that was about, what was that, 17?
That was in 2017.
So if I go back, I think I remember when you started, but whatever you did it successfully because you made an immediate impact. Do you remember how you did that? Because even like as a nascent guy like me over on the sideline, I'm like, hold on, I remember when Sharp Construction started. I mean, you were everywhere. So you had a formidable plan, either marketing-wise or something, brand recognition. I
think that's, the brand was huge. And I spent a lot of time going out and getting to know who's the who in the market. I was in the NAIOP Developing Leaders Club, and I shouldn't say club, but the group. I ended up getting heavily involved in NAIOP. I was going to IFMA events and ABA events and basically trying to find out what are the organizations where everybody's running around. And, I went to some of the ULI events, et cetera. And I just tried to invest my time in networking well and trying to build strong relationships.
Well, I think you did it very well.
With that, it was also about making promises and delivering on the promises that you're making.
It's a novel concept, isn't it?
Right. Do what you say and say what you do. So I started small. I
Yeah.
wanted to just bring on a couple customers, bid on the work, and perform the work and make sure that we were doing it well. We kicked off our first project January 15th. It was a small tenant improvement for CBRE that it was at McDowell Mountain Medical up there off of Shea and the 101.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it was a dermatologist office. I can't say that it was super easy because, again, at this time, we're still building processes. I think I had 3 employees. It's me and like 2 or 3 other people. And I mean, it was still fun though. This was the creative time.
Yeah.
Like we're in creation. And we made it happen, and we finished the project, and everybody was happy, and then we were on to the next project. And before I know it, I had made a really amazing connection with Michelle Heebs. Are you familiar?
Know her name, yes.
Okay. And she made an introduction to the group down at University of Phoenix. University of Phoenix was looking for another general contractor to come in and do a full renovation. So it was, I want to say, 22 floors across the 3 buildings that are right there off of the 10 and 32nd Street, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's 32nd. I think you're right. Well, it's where university turns into whatever.
Correct.
Right there.
And so the intention was that their folks are still going to be 100% operational during the day there. And they wanted somebody to come in at night from about 5 p.m. until about 6 o'clock in the morning and work all night shifts plus 24-hour shifts on the weekends in order to do a full renovation of 22 floors that were about 30,000 square foot each, plus I think it was 44 restrooms and 21 break rooms at the time. And we did that in 12 weeks.
What the hell were you thinking?
12 weeks. I know. Is that not it was unbelievable. So that's the project that everybody
That
kind
was
of
your
looked
catalyst.
at.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was everything that I did on that project, I was pulling my learnings from Intel because we were flipping 120,000 square foot space in between 6 to 8 weeks. And so everything that I was doing with our tenant improvement, I had shifted when I was at Intel from the clean room, new construction side into tool install for a couple of years. And then I went from tool install into interior renovations and renovated the entire campus.
So is it all based on a lean Six Sigma type thing mentality or
It's,
more or less or what?
It was based on are you familiar with IPD?
Yes.
So they had this kind of IPD contractual structure in that we brought everybody to the table. We weren't changing partners or switching anything. It
Yep.
was the same team, and we were moving from one space to the next space. So we'd finish one floor,
Replicating, yep.
and then, what did we do good? Let's do that again. What could we improve upon? And then you just see constant continuous improvement so that we could shorten the durations over a period of time.
Right. So integrated project delivery.
Exactly.
Yeah. For the
Yeah.
people that...
Eh.
Since we started the show with bashing Intel for their acronyms, we probably should.
Exactly.
Not you.
Integrated project delivery. So we basically brought
That was
everybody.
really, Sharp just went like that at that point.
We did.
And
that was
that makes sense.
That was a large project for us, and it really put our name on the board. We still have essentially a JOC contract with University of Phoenix
nice.
and do most of their work, and have held a strong relationship with them ever since. And that's part of it too, is really trying to make sure that you take care of your customers and that you manage that relationship, and you continue to carry it forward in a positive way. Because everyone's a repeat possibility, right?
So let's go down the avenue of your woman. You own a construction company in Phoenix. I'll preface it by saying that it's funny because when I look at your organization and I look at your reputation, it's not, Sharp Construction is the best woman-owned construction company. You get the accolades, whether it's man, woman, black, white. I'm just saying, quit
Right.
putting the adverbs and the adjectives in there,
Right.
and just say, like, you built your reputation on this. The caveat, though, is when everyone peels it back, I've known a lot of people that have behind the scenes talked about you behind your back in a positive way, going, yeah, but the cool part is she's a woman and she did all this and she owns this and blah, blah, blah. What are the trials and tribulations that you went through for that?
You know, I'm going to say that the industry is so different today than it was 20 years ago.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, it's very welcoming.
Truly?
They're very much so.
Okay.
And I'm not sugarcoating it. There are, and who knows, maybe there's comments or things that happen behind your back or whatever the case may be, but I've had to earn respect in my role. Yeah. And I'll use Intel as an example. There were, I was thrown into a group of all men and I was the only female. And
you came out the alpha.
No, I think that they initially, I do believe that they looked at me like, gosh, what a waste of our time. Like, Intel's chasing after this whole diversity thing and thinks they should be bringing women into construction. And, these are men that have been there for 30 plus years and they just wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they looked at you as a quota check, right?
Exactly. But I think over the course of a solid year or two, I started to show my value and prove myself. And, by the time that I left, I genuinely, truly believe that, these men were my mentors, and I know that they valued me. They saw me as an asset, and that they probably would have been ashamed of what their original thoughts were about me at the time.
It was well stated.
And I think that that's something that I've just had to do throughout my career. Is prove myself. And I'm now in the position where I feel like, I've gone through the time, for the last 20 years, I've proved myself. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be Sharp Construction and we wouldn't be still standing after 6 years if we didn't know what we were doing and were not able to hold a valuable construction conversation.
The patience and forgiveness factor in our industry is about zero, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no safety net. There's no fail safe. If you fail, you fail.
Right.
But if you succeed too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like there's anybody there that's holding me back or pushing me down. Everyone has been very gracious, especially when I entered. I think they were excited to see something different and excited to see, a woman come in and do something special. And it's worked. It's been great.
All right, so let's talk on that. It just props this up brilliantly. Why Girls Can Build. So tell me about how it started, what it represents, where you're going with it, who's involved.
Okay.
Let's get some exposure to that to our marketplace.
I love it. So Girls Can Build actually began with the conversation at the Henry. I think most.
Geez, there's a shocker. A business deal in Phoenix done at the Henry.
Exactly.
The world's biggest incubator that doesn't get paid for it.
We were sitting down and we were talking to some lovely ladies at Girl Scouts.
Oh.
And with that, we were, it just kind of like, we had this beautiful conversation and it unfolded, and we were just thinking about an initiative, because we wanted to do something fun for the girls at Girl Scouts. And we came up with ideas like Build to Build or Girls Can Build. And we literally left the table with this initiative and this idea and already had named it Girls Can Build, and then had a couple other intentional meetings that we were planning for who we were going to get involved. It unfolded from there, where we kind of created our first project. And the first project was this mobile workshop concept that we're in the process of constructing right now. The mobile workshop is essentially a large vehicle that is the interior is being fit out so that children can walk through it, grab materials, learning modules, and tools, and then walk out and have workstations set up for the different learning modules that they're doing.
So kind of like Saturday morning at Home Depot on steroids.
Essentially.
But with more direction.
Right.
Okay.
And at the time, I was also having conversations with ASU. So we brought Mark Naveau in, who is one of our partners for Girls Can Build. And he's been in charge largely of building and developing the education modules in partnership with Girl Scouts.
Oh.
And so Girl Scouts is, we've got a couple people on the team there that are coming up with these learning modules that will suit these children in specific age ranges, but also identify patch opportunities for them.
Tiffany, can you go a little deeper on that? Like, what is that? Give me some examples, or what does that look like so the audience can relate to it?
So some of them, we're going to have learning modules that teach them what tools are and what they're used for and how they operate.
Okay.
We'll have modules that will teach them safety and they need to be thinking about when they're utilizing these types of tools. We'll have projects, small projects where they're using maybe a circular saw and some wood, and we'll have to be able to perform the project from beginning to end, given some specific requirements that'll be set up. Also learning like foundational language in the engineering, the architecture, and the construction trades. So basically trying to set a foundation for them just in general. And what are the tools that are used? What are what's the language, looking at a set of drawings and being able to understand how to maybe read a set of drawings or construction drawings from on more of an elementary level, right? But having some progression too. So being able to say, okay, well, here's module 1 of reading a set of construction drawings, and then when they're ready to go to the next phase or the next stage, having another opportunity there. We're looking at building some fun videos where maybe they're being walked through projects and concepts based on somebody in a video that's kind of showing them and talking through it with them, etc. So that is the project 1. Project 2.
Where are you? Okay, so everything you just described, where do you feel you're at with project 1?
So we're hot in the middle of construction of it right now.
Thank you.
The design is essentially complete. We just got the vehicle back from the dealership in which they were modifying equipment, mechanical and electrical equipment inside of it to suit some of the needs. So we're going to put a solar system in this.
Nice.
We are going to fit it up with millwork, and it'll be like a modular system that will be able to hold all of the different learning modules and tools and materials, and have a canopy on the exterior side of it with some fun lighting.
Nice.
Putting some branding and fun stuff all around
How
it.
did you, if you don't mind me asking, did you get donations, underwriters, ASU? Like,
Great question.
Who created the wealth other than Tiffany here?
So we've been fundraising for this for the last, I want to say, year and a half at this point. We have 5 committees, and each committee has probably, I want to say, between 5 to 10 people on it. In total, I think the last time that we took count, we had about 40 committee members.
Holy cow.
So the committees were really separated by, we had the design and architectural committee, we had the learning and education committee, the marketing and social media committee, the fundraising committee, and then the leads committee. And so there was somebody that was in each of those 4 committees that was the lead, and then we would have the leads committee that would basically bring all the updates for everybody involved.
Makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
So it has worked out very, 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 very well. And we've had an amazing amount of, I will say, personal donations. We've held a couple large and significant events, so personal donations from the events. We've also had several corporate and small business donations.
That's nice.
But we've also had, I want to say, 3 or 4 substantial grants that have been provided for it.
Nice.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Bleu, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Bleu to get it done right the first time.
All in all, I believe we've raised $250,000 to support it in about a year and a half.
Impressive.
Thank you.
So before I cut you off, you're going to project 2 or the next phase. What does that look like?
Okay, so project 2 is that I'm actually writing a book.
Oh, in your spare time.
Exactly. And what little spare time I have. It's a series.
Yeah.
So book 1, I've named it after my daughter and her best friend. It's The Adventures of Novi and Marley, and book 1's called The Wander Treehouse.
Nice.
And so it's supposed to be an educational series that will essentially, again, teach these children the basics and fundamentals of going about the idea of designing, engineering, and constructing something. And so the first book, The Wander Treehouse, is about 2 girls getting inspired to build their own treehouse. And the treehouse, they go through the entire process of getting excited about different ideas. What do they want to put in it? And then they have to get a little bit more logical and start to actually put it down on paper. And we probably can't fit that, or we probably can't afford that, or going through that whole process. And then going about how are they going to get the materials? And so they're running around to neighbors' houses and digging in their garage and asking for donations.
Stealing out of the mom's dumpster.
Exactly. And
hey, my mom owns a construction company. We can just thieve it from her.
For the engineering portion, we dive into how are they going to be able to support this treehouse? What's the support look like, and what do they need to think about? We go into the idea of a pulley system. So how are they going to engineer and build a pulley system so that they can get materials from the bottom to the top? And then it essentially leads into book 2. Okay. And book 2 is called The Enchanted Garden. And towards the end, while they're digging for things in book 1, they find a key. And they want to understand where this key goes. And the key, at the end of book 2, the key essentially takes them to a door that has gears on it, which is the entry to an enchanted garden where they're going to meet a mentor that will be the mentor for the rest of the series. And so that's, you get where I'm going with this.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cute.
Well, what I think, I know we've only been on together for 40 minutes or so, but when I hear you and listen to the story, you're just basically kind of effectuating what you had wanted to do. Remember early on we said, hey, I knew at one point I wanted to teach.
Oh, this is true.
It's funny. I see you unraveling the onion in front of me going, well, I did all these things and now I can start peeling these blossoms off the onion, quote unquote. And it's cool to see.
I've always said that even if I dig down with my team, and I just talked about this recently, I want everybody that I work with to know exactly what I know and more, and I want to put them in a position to learn. And I don't harbor things. I don't keep things from people. If I have a way to solve a problem, or I have ideas, or I have some form of knowledge and I can teach them, then I want to share all of my knowledge and make sure they can gain additional from there.
Well stated. Back to the book thing.
Yeah.
Would you see that expanding then?
So
what's your dream there?
My hope for the book is that I would like to fundraise some capital in order to print as many of these books as I possibly can and get them in educational facilities and libraries across the nation.
Okay. Well, here's your pitch. If Dolly Parton's listening, she could help.
Exactly.
Whatever her thing was, that book thing.
I just want to make sure that I can get the book into the hands of kids between the ages of 8 to 12, actually 7 to 12. And inspire them about career options. Something fun that I'm doing in the back of the book is a introduction to an architect in the language of an 8 to 12-year-old. How are they going to be able to understand what an architect does from there? And I've been posting these on our Girls Can Build LinkedIn site. So if you go onto LinkedIn and search Girls Can Build, I think I have one there for a civil engineer right now. I have one there for an introduction to an architecture and a construction project manager. And so there will be a glossary of terms as well as an introduction to career options in the back of the book that'll always be in the back of all the books.
I think an obvious question that I want to ask, that I think a lot of the audience would be, it's like, okay, Tiffany, wonderful job setting this up, wonderful that it's girls can build, is kind of the ethos behind it. But I see it expanding to much more than just girls, right?
It's honestly,
It's kind of open to everyone.
These books are something that it's not going to be uncomfortable for a young boy to read, right? There are, the initiative that we had with Girl Scouts, that focuses genuinely on just females, because that mobile workshop is going to be traveling around with Girl Scouts to all of the
Which makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, it is girls can build, but obviously I'm not necessarily shying away from, young boys wanting to learn about construction. It's just more that we have a labor challenge in our industry. Exactly. And there is a massive gap in the amount of women that have joined our industry versus the amount of women that are actually in the workplace or the workforce. So I think we have a lot of opportunity there to at least show them that there are genuine, real, great, well-paying opportunities in the construction, engineering, and architectural realms, and that we're going to break down some barriers here and destroy a few stereotypes that I genuinely don't really believe exist as much as maybe they did 20 plus years ago.
I think that's well stated. Let me ask you a question. Is there, because you're looking under the hood of this day in and day out, is ASU, NAU, is anyone being transformative with the intent to have women and minorities in these types of programs? I just don't see it because I'm removed from it, but do you see that they've made a concerted effort there?
I do, because I think that there is, especially with ASU, I'm not involved with many of the other colleges at this time, although I hope to.
Use ASU as an example.
There's a focus on diversity.
Okay.
And so I do think that they have programs specifically aligned in trying to help break down some of those diversity issues.
Okay.
And ASU is one of our strong partners with Girls Can Build, right?
I guess I kind of wanted to ask you what we got away from this, but what's new and upcoming with Sharp Construction?
Sharp Construction. So we've been growing,
Yes, she has.
and with growth means another level of leadership, right? So we're right at that stage right now where we need to bring in some powerful leadership to make sure that the people that I'm famous for saying this, I know it, but we have the right people doing the right things at the right time, right? And that's what makes us successful. And so I can't manage all of that personally myself as much as I would definitely like to be as involved as I can with my entire team and all the projects that we're on. And so I need to make sure that they have the right support and leadership and mentorship in place. And that's what we've been doing right now. I am looking to bring in a VP of operations, and I'm in talks with a couple people. So that'll probably be the biggest substantial change that we make over the course of the next, I want to say, 6 months. We have an amazing general superintendent that has joined us over the last year that actually he just hit his year anniversary. And he's really taken the field by storm and managing all of the guys in the field and helping to train them on schedules and making sure that nobody's sitting out there siloed and that they're running projects successfully and that they have the support. But without putting in this next level of leadership, I think that it makes us stagnant. And so in order for us to grow, we've got to grow internally as well.
Are you being asked, and I think you framed that very well, we all struggle with that as leaders, how do we grow, how fast do we grow, and all those kind of things. Yeah. With that, though, have you found your need or desire or the clients asked to go into different verticals now with Sharp Construction? Or are you guys staying close to your core competencies?
We are yes and yes. And so The best way to say that is that we have ventured out a little bit in that we've been chasing after public works projects. We have a couple large projects going on with the...
in particular?
We're going to chase after JOC. I mean, that's where we want to start. We got to build some rapport.
Yep.
But we are currently doing a couple projects with the Department of Veterans Affairs, one down in Mariana and one up in Navajo and Flagstaff. So that's our first real jump out of private work and into public work. But that's going to be a huge focus for us over the course of the next, I want to say, 2 to 3 years. From the tenant improvement side and the private side, we have a project executive that mans the tenant improvements. Our team has just done a phenomenal job in that environment, and we have zero intention of letting that go. That is our baby. We'll continue to take care of the baby, while we maybe look at a couple opportunities that might make sense for us.
Good job. I can't say enough good about your reputation in our business out there. So, for you not to say that, hell, I'd say it for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What we didn't talk. We started in the beginning talking about you, but what else do you do for fun?
What else do I do for fun?
Can't just work all the time.
Right now, it's writing a book.
Yeah.
I'm doing a whole bunch of strategic planning for 2024 for Sharp Construction. Outside of that, I love to ride bikes, which I'm not doing right now in the summer. Hiking as well, which I'm not doing right now.
How old are your kids now?
I have my son will be 16 here in like exactly 2 weeks. And my daughter is 9. She'll be 10 in November.
Oh, okay.
And you know what happens with 16, right? I mean, I am already getting harped on about a
How's
car.
the car?
Exactly. A car and driver's license. And we have a requirement. He has to pass 2 of their practice exams online before I will take him to the DMV. There is no way I'm going to go sit in the DMV for 2 or 3 hours.
Come on, Mom.
No.
An exercise in futility.
Exactly.
I really can't think of anything else. Is there any question that I haven't asked that you think I should have, or that would be befitting for the audience of Mac and Bleu? Either about you.
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because we're out there searching for it right now. If there is anybody else that is passionate about the Girls Can Build initiative and would like to get involved or volunteer, then I would ask them to reach out to us and let us know, because we are definitely looking for volunteers right now. We have a couple other initiatives and ideas and projects that we're going to venture towards that I did not list that we could use some people that are passionate about grant writing and passionate about just fundraising and event planning and all sorts of things of that nature. And if anybody has any fun ideas of how Girls Can Build can either partner with one of our organizations or get more involved with commercial real estate, then I would love to hear that as well.
I think that's a tremendous call out, and we'll do our best on the show to get that message out there. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tiffany, and it's been a pleasure to have you. I love what you've done with your business, and equally important, I love what you've done for the advocacy of women in construction, across all things, architecture, engineering, all of it. So for those of you that want to reach out to Tiffany, I like everything, reach out on LinkedIn. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to accept your invitation and connect with her. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the Mac and Bleu Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Bleu podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levinsky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday